Hey YouTube! Today we are going to be taking a look at a few of Hu Tao's best teams. I have prepared 5 teams for you and we are going to compare them to each other. I hope you enjoyed the video and let's get into it.
Witness the power of Gugwa. Know my sword. Give up.
Now, our first team is Hu Tao with Xingqiu as her vaporized partner and Double Geo for a nice beefy shield from Zhongli. And Double Geo for Geo Resonance, which gives you 15% damage bonus if you have shield. For that very reason, I recommend this team only if you have Zhongli. Your other Geo character is usually Ningguang or Albedo for a nice elemental mastery buff. You can put Ningguang on Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayer, or you can use her as a sub DPS character, whichever you prefer. The advantages of this double Geo comp is that you have a safe playstyle with a beefy shield and a consistent damage. That being said, the damage of this team is lower than the 2 next teams that will be coming.
Supporting fire. Wind strider. Ring cutter.
Now, our second team is the Nemo Red Tao. We use Tao with Xingqiu as her vaporized partner, and Toma so we can get the elemental resonance of Pyro for even more attack, but also Pyro application so we can swirl Pyro of the enemies and get the Viridescent Banner buff, but also Kazuha's Pyro damage buff, or Sucrose for an elemental mastery buff. Now, the advantages of Anemo Shredder is really high damage with a nice shield, or high damage with Changling. The main problem is that Toma will steal some Vaporize hits, which makes this team less consistent than your previous and your next teams. Also, your Xingqiu burst will stay on longer than your Toma burst, which will make swirling Pyro not very easy. This makes this team a really high hitter, but also less consistent than your other teams. That being said, this team maximizes your Hu Tao's personal damage to an insane amount of 89k damage with 10k from Xingqiu's burst. Altogether, this makes her deal 100k per charge attack.
Witness the power of Gugwa. Game's up. Time's over. Busted.
Now, our next team is my personal favorite, Double Hydro Hu Tao. They just buffed this team with 3.0 because they changed the Hydro Resonance to increase your character's max HP, which is a buff to not only Hu Tao but also Yelan and Zhongli. Or if you prefer to use Toma in this team, you can also use Toma, which, by the way, also steals some Vaporize hits, which is why I prefer Zhongli in this team. Now, another benefit of this team is that Yelan and Xingqiu, your sub DPS characters, need a lot of energy, but with Double Hydro, they need a little less energy because they generate energy for each other. Your Hu Tao will do a lot of damage in this team, but your Yelan and Xingqiu will also hit on every charge attack like you were able to see in the clip just now. Your Hu Tao's damage starts at 65k, but because of Yelan's passive, increases to up to 70k. But your Yelan and Xingqiu will both hit on every charge attack, and your Xingqiu will do around 9k, and your Yelan 17k on every charge attack. This is up to 90k at the start of your rotation, to up to 95k per charge attack. Now, this damage might seem lower than the damage we saw in the previous team, but this team is way more consistent because you can vaporize on every charge attack and you don't have the swirling problems with Pyro which you had in the previous team, which makes this team not only a high hitter but also safe and consistent.
churl, Billy churl.
Solidify!
Cool it. This moment will be frozen in time.
Kamisato art.
Now our team team is Melt Tao. In this case, you're going to use Kaya, Rosaria, Ayaka, some kind of cryo character. You could even use Shenhei, but I would not really recommend Shenhei over something like Rosaria for the cryo application. You can also still use Xingqiu, so you can vaporize on every non-melted. Your melts are going to be doing around 68k with the deathmatch, but you could also use Melt Hu Tao with Staff of Homer if you have it. If you do not have Staff of Homer and are using Dragon's Bane, then I would really and highly recommend using Vaporize Hu Tao over Melt Hu Tao. Just because Melt Hu Tao is not very consistent. You're not going to melt on every charge attack, and vaporizing with, for example, double Hydro is just way more consistent and also higher damage if you have an R5 Dragon's Bane, or even an R2 or R3 Dragon's Bane in this case. Now, our last team is Mono Pyro Hu Tao. In this case, you're going to use Hu Tao with another Pyro character, mainly Xiangling, and Kazuha to swirl Pyro, and a shielder like Zhongli, Diona, or Toma. You're going to switch out your Dragon's Bane in this case, because the Elemental Mastery is useless, and use something like Jade-Winged Spear, Staff of Homer, Deathmatch, whatever you have. And you're also going to switch out your Crimson Witch set for a Shiminawa or even Lava Walker set. In this case, your charge attacks are only 44k-ish, just because Vaporize hits increase your damage by a lot, especially if you have Dragon Bane. Plus, you have a nice bit of Xiangling damage. My Xiangling is sadly not leveled, but she's probably gonna be doing around 15 to maybe 20k, depending on how good your Xiangling is built. This team is really consistent, but also kind of low damage. If you use a shield, it's gonna be pretty safe. It's a nice team, but I would prefer using her with Vaporize or even Melt over using her Mono Pyro. Now, let's get to my closing thoughts. And after that, we are going to have an Abyss showcase with 2 of those aforementioned teams, just to show you their strength, but also show you how those teams work. I think that using Hu Tao with a Hydrochar is highly recommended, which is why I think Melt Tao and Mono Pyro Hu Tao are way less damage, but also less consistent than the other 3 teams. Right now, I think her best team is Double Hydro, just because of all of those benefits of the new Hydro Resonance and Vaporize giving you big hits with Dragon's Bane or even Staff of Homer. That being said, Shred Tao is very high damage, but also more free to play friendly. For example, you can just use this team with Xingqiu, give him a lot of energy, and don't even invest too much into him. You don't need to level his talents, you can keep him at level 70, he won't do a lot of damage, but he will enable you to vaporize on your hits. Then you can also use Toma, keep him at level 70, give him a lot of energy and also a lot of HP, so he can give you a good solid shield. Then you can also use Sucrose, keep her at a low level, give her a lot of Elemental Mastery and Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayer for a nice attack buff for your Hu Tao, and the Anemo set to shred the resistances of your enemies. And in this team you don't have to invest a lot into your characters, but do a lot of damage with your Hu Tao that is highly invested in, while keeping the other 3 at low investment. Now with this free-to-play friendly team, you're still gonna be doing a lot of damage, and you don't have to wail and get Yayla and Zhongli and Hu Tao in one team, but can do all of this with just 4-star characters. But that being said, at the end of the day, I highly recommend using whatever characters you guys like in your teams. So choose the team that contains characters that you like using. Now, thank you so much for watching. This video took a lot of effort and it took very long to make. So if you want to see more, like, subscribe and comment. And now let's get into the Floor 12 Hu Tao showcase.